Here is the Tudor Corner, the Lego modular that came out earlier this year. This is the 20th Lego modular, and to celebrate 20 years, we have been going back and looking at each of these modular sets, which you can see here. We've been converting each of them to a MILS plate. We've also been revisiting some of the design choices that were made, especially on some of these earlier modulars, and updating them and hopefully making them a little bit more fun. We hope you've been following along on this series. We've looked at 17 of the modulars so far. Next, we're going to get to the last three, which is actually the first three that came out back in from 2007 to 2008. I've never owned these, but in the last couple of years, we've parted them out. Here is going to be the Green Grocer and Market Square, and the original from 2007, Cafe Corner. We're going to be building those over the next few weeks, and we hope you follow along. Now let's recap some of the changes we've made so far. We wanted to make these sets more consistent design-wise. One of the things we did is we made the backyards the same green color on every one of these modulars. Original modulars came on different colored base plates, so there was no consistency from set to set of what like the backyard would look like. We also introduced some consistency on the sidewalk design. For example, each building has now a fire hydrant, which is in the front left consistently. Also, we put these lampposts, again, which were already in every modular, but some of them were kind of all over the place. Now they're each anchored in the front right. And then on the corner modulars, we introduced these curb cuts for crosswalks and also crossing signals. Now let's take a closer look at these crosswalks, because a lot of you have been asking, and I think I want to do an upgrade here anyway. Here's how we do our roads. These are custom built, black, 2 studs deep that sit on the side, and we're going to get more into roads in future videos. So the way we build a MILS plate then, MILS plate is the exact height of these roads then, and then the buildings and the sidewalk sits right on top of there. So you've got one tile difference there between sidewalk and the road, and what we've done is put in this slope here in the crosswalk, which I put in the yellow because, trying to get, most crosswalks have that kind of texture, that in the slope, but I think it's a little bit too much of the yellow. What I'm thinking about doing here, and I would love to get comments from you guys on the video, I'm going to take a couple of these out on the sides, take that one out, and then take this one out. And what I'm doing is taking a couple of these pieces, putting these in just like that. And I think that looks a little nicer, but love to hear what you guys think about it. Now, I know what you're thinking. I would rather have, instead of these curved slants that I used here, I would prefer it to be one of these, only solid in the light bluish gray. But those pieces are very expensive. Like, you can't find them for under $1.50, and that's rare. And to be able to do all of them like that, that's not worth spending. So I think we're doing just fine with these, at least for now. Here are those crosswalks with that change. Now, also worth noting while we have this together, we do these black roads like this. This is why when we redid like the corner garage here, this was originally gray, this driveway here. Same thing with this, but we change it to black to match these roads and also put it at the same level as the road. I really like this look, especially for the corner garage. We did this on a few other modulars, but this is probably where it looks the most striking. Here's some examples of changes we've made so far, like with the museum. That tree at the front was all pink, but we changed the underlying pieces to make them green here, so I think that looks a lot better. Here on the Jazz Club, we re-engineered this entryway so it's not jiggling around so much. On the bookstore build, we were able to turn a crawl space into a basement and make it a lair for Dracula. On the brick bank, we redesigned the sidewalks to create some more modern designs. On the detective office, instead of it being Al's Barbershop, now it's HOF Barbershop, which is a play, of course, on our name. We updated the Grand Emporium so you can actually rotate that front door, which I think is really cool. And probably my favorite upgrade so far, taking the fire brigade door and putting a crank on it so we can open and close it from the back of the building. And once we're done with the modulars, we've already taken the new Avengers Tower, put it on MILS. We're doing the same thing with these other Marvel buildings, so then we can include them in our city. If you want to see more about how we changed each of these modular buildings, you can go back in our feed. There are long form videos on each one of them. So our next steps, we're going to be finishing those next 3 modulars, and then we're going to work on those Marvel buildings that I showed you. Then we're going to dive into our roads. I know a lot of you have more questions about those custom roads that we build. So spend some time on that, and then it's going to be time turn this all into a new Lego city. So thanks for following along.